Good evening, I'm Shane Jones. Leading the news at 7. Barbados is on the way back on track. This assertion from Prime Minister Frindle Stewart. He was one of several speakers to take the platform in Eden Lodge in support of St. Michael North candidate Kim Tudor. Lisa Broom has more.
Over a 6 to 7 year period, Barbados lost about $1.6 billion in corporate tax. But rather than take the easy road and lay off close to 5,000 public servants as advised, the Democratic Labour Party chose to put the people first. That's why, according to Prime Minister Frindle Stewart, those who could afford it were asked to pay a bit more in taxes, and government fought to maintain the social amenities to which Barbadians had become accustomed. Well, now, because of making those hard choices, Barbados' future is looking up.
In an $8 billion economy at the time, losing that kind of money would require some serious adjustment. But we did not compromise the social services that we were accustomed to provide for Barbadians and to which Barbadians had become accustomed. We handled it in a different way. And tonight, Barbados is on the way back. That's right. And I am proud of that.
The Prime Minister acknowledged that several questions have been asked about the DLP's achievements over its 10 years in office, but he says the party's record in areas like housing, education, and a comprehensive suite of labour legislation is clear. According to him, the Employment Rights Act is one of the most meaningful to be successfully piloted through Parliament.
This government, over the last 10 years, has put on the statute books the unfair dismissal legislation that was being promised from 1971. And it was put on the statute books thanks to the leadership provided by Dr. Esteban-Sakou as Minister of Labour in Barbados.
Meantime, Tourism Minister Richard Seeley said Barbados is aiming for full employment by 2020 through further expansion of the tourism industry. He says right now unemployment stands at just under 10%, but government's strategies in the industry should see that drop to between the acceptable 2% and 5% over the next few years.
We expect, obviously, with the increased number of hotel rooms, currently we're just about 7,000, but with Sandals Beaches started and Sam Lord's Castle, there's 1,000 rooms between the two of them, we moved to over 8,000 rooms. We could eventually move our balance of payment current account to surpluses, where we can actually earn more foreign exchange than we consume on a current basis. I'm not talking about capital transactions. And so planned hotel development will create 5,237 jobs by 2020 and 15,000 jobs directly and indirectly.
Lisa Broom, Cbc News.
Social Care Minister Steve Blackett is convinced the monies granted in waivers and tax exemptions under the Barbados Labour Party could have benefited Barbadians. He stresses the funds could have been used to strengthen social programs.
If the Treasury had paid the $80 million that was waived, how many houses could have been built in Barbados for people all across this country? How many garbage trucks could have been bought? No wonder we can buy garbage trucks, because the Treasury was not given the $80 million that was due to it. How many buses we could have bought? What quantum of pay rise we could have given to the public officers if the Treasury was $80 million richer. Now, $80,400,000 could have gone a far way.
Moved by the plights and feeling of dejection from residents of St. Michael North, DLP candidate Kim Tudor has pledged jobs and housing will be priority as she moves to restore the constituency to its former days. The commitment was given during a political meeting in Eden Lodge. Ms. Tudor says residents have been turning to her as she has not only been listening but has been able to provide help. Several areas of the constituency have been debushed, investments have been made in a project involving the rearing of chickens, and efforts are on to restore a play park. Ms. Tudor says she intends to work with residents to develop their ideas. One suggestion proposed by Eden Lodge residents is an open-air kiosk facility,
where you're selling produce, where you can get all kinds of things. And that is the idea they have. So as I said to them, that is going to need some town and planning permission, that's going to need some work. But it's their idea that all of them, I know there was shoe repair happening there, and they have various skills, and they want a little kind of mall where they can display and work. These young men want to work. These young men don't want to be thugs and vagabonds. These young men want to work, and I intend to put them to work.
The cancellation of a shareholders meeting to discuss the proposed sale of the Hilton Hotel is being hailed by the Barbados Labour Party as a victory for the people. And BLP leader Mia Motley is taking credit for it. She spoke about the recent development during a political meeting in Wellington Street, the city, in support of Colonel Jeffrey Bostic. We hear more in this Kent Jerson report.
BLP leader Mia Motley suggests that it was only after she exposed the planned meeting scheduled by Needham's Point Holdings Limited for May 21st to discuss the proposed sale of the Hilton Hotel that it was called off. She said after revealing the information, many people had indicated a willingness to march to the Hilton on Whit Monday in an effort to stop the sale. According to her, the cancellation is evidence that the power of the people is greater than the people in power.
When I said to the people of Barbados that we need you to stand up with us, many of you that night said yes, and since then, lawyers have been calling, truck drivers have been calling, people have been calling, offering water, all kinds of people ready for any mobilization that would be necessary to stop the Monday shareholders meeting to sell out the Hilton from under us 3 days before an election.
In his address, BLP candidate for the city, Colonel Jeffrey Bostic, complained that over the past 5 years, there has been little support from the ruling Democratic Labour Party to improve the lives of city residents. He's promised to follow in the footsteps of former Representative Dame Billy Miller to further develop the city.
The plans that the Barbados Labour Party has for this entire area, they are far bigger and more exciting than one single Hyatt hotel. We are thinking about a number of hotels, not 15-story hotel, a number of hotels and restaurants and shops and a marina, part of the program that unfortunately my predecessor, Dame Billy Miller, did not get to see come to fruition.
Also concerned about the quality of life in Barbados is BLP St. Michael East candidate Trevor Prescott, who contends that poverty is rising at an alarming rate as a result of mismanagement by the DLP administration.
Over 20% of the population live below the poverty line. If that is not cause for concern, especially by the people who live within the precincts of the city, not owning the buildings in the city, not being part of the affluent in the city, but I'm focusing exclusively on the poor in the city.
The other speakers on the night included St. Michael West Central candidate Ian Gooding-Edgell and the candidate for St. Michael South, Kirk Humphrey, among others. Kent Jerson, CBC News.
The Barbados Labour Party has helped to champion urban and rural renewal across the length and breadth of the island. This assertion by St. Michael West Central candidate Ian Gooding-Edgell.
We, the people, brought not only housing solutions to the city of Bridgetown, we brought housing solutions all across Barbados. When you look and see the airport facilities and the expansion of the airport, it was the Barbados Labour Party. If you go to the Bridgetown port, it was the Barbados Labour Party. Everything of significance, everything of historical value in Barbados, the Barbados Labour Party had the land hand in it, and they developed it in such a way that it benefited you, the people of Bridgetown, and throughout Barbados.
Residents of the city will benefit significantly from $5,000 trust loans being promised to small business owners by the Barbados Labour Party if they form the next government. BLP candidate for St. Michael South, Kirk Humphrey, was referring to a promise contained in the party's manifesto. Mr. Humphrey says small businesses will be a priority.
There are many people in the city who are hustling, trying to make a dollar. We are going to empower those people so that they can feed their children. And the only thing we are asking you to do is to pay it back. If we lend you $5,000, pay it back. And when you pay it back, we will give you $10,000. And eventually you could develop enough credit to go to the same bank that they won't lend you money. And you could then borrow money. That is real transformation.
The United Progressive Party is asking for time to solve the ills facing Barbados should they be successful at the upcoming polls. Candidate for St. Michael North, Maria Phillips, says they can bring real change, but it will not happen overnight. She was speaking during a spot meeting in St. Stephen's Hill last night.
The United Progressive Party is serious about what we are offering, and we are serious about giving ourselves to ensure that the things and the systems that need to be in place will be in place.
UPP candidate for Christchurch East Central, Ogeji Dottin, says the talent in Barbados is immeasurable, but it needs harnessing to make an impact on the global stage. Dottin said the framework has already been laid, but a few tweaks are needed to allow Barbadians to take full advantage.
The framework has been there because we have marketed Barbados through tourism. We've marketed it through our international business sector. So the framework is there. We just have to enhance it, revise it, and make it in such a way that every single Barbadian, through the technology of the mobile phone or the tablet or the computer, can access it as well.
Despite the result of the 2018 general elections, Barbados can be sure the United Progressive Party will remain in the running. Speaking at a spot meeting in support of St. Michael North candidate Maria Phillips, Everton Holligan insisted the party is here to stay. The St. George North candidate says the island cannot settle for a two-party battle any longer.
Our mission is a sacred one. Our mission is to help to restore the dignity of our people. Our mission is to ensure that the policies of the Progressive Party can actually be implemented on behalf of the residents of our country.
So it's a long road to travel, but we began the traveling. We started, and we are here to continue. So if you're concerned that the Progressive Party is going to run away after this elections, have no fear. We are here to stay.
With Barbados food import bills said to be in excess of $500 million a year, Solutions Barbados has a plan to get people back to growing more food locally. This plan was outlined by the party's candidate for St. Lucie, Reverend John Carter. Sharika Griffith reports.
Speaking at a spot meeting in Countryview Estates, Reverend Carter said his party will be seeking to bring back the good old days when every Barbadian household planted some sort of crop. In addition to this, he says the fact that farmers have to come on the highway to sell their produce suggests there isn't an effective marketing system in place. Solutions Barbados will be seeking to rectify this.
The government of Barbados, the Solutions Barbados government, will ensure that at least 60% of everything that the farmer harvests in this nation is bought and used by the Barbados government.
The Solutions Barbados candidate for St. Lucie also says there's a plan for tackling the issue of predial larceny, which will involve increased surveillance through the use of drone technology.
So these two-foot fellas who are going around, who don't want to work and work for legitimate income, want to steal your produce, we are going to catch them. We're going to have a rapid response unit in the police force. So when the drone spots them, we can catch them. And listen up, our policy is, if you're caught, you're going to pay 10 times the value of the thing that you stole.
Party leader Grenville Phillips says legislation will be passed to stamp out corruption.
Both the payers and receivers of bribes will confidentially pay a fine of the full value of the bribe during a 3-month amnesty. Thereafter, whistleblower legislation will be enacted, where the whistleblower will get as a reward the full value of the bribe.
As for the issues of transportation, candidate for St. Philip West, Leighton Greenwich, says the solution isn't necessarily more buses.
We can do simple things like implement express bus service, say from 6 roads, where people have the ability to come to a parking facility, what we call a commuter lot, in 6 rows, and jump on a bus in the morning.
Police are tonight trying to get to the bottom of a shooting that occurred in plain sight. It claimed the life of 51-year-old Trevor Bino near his home in the St. Matthias housing area last night. Tonight, friends and family are sad and confused. Kareem Smith has more.
Under the cover of darkness, masked men bearing lethal weapons opened fire on this popular liming spot in St. Matthias housing area. When the smoke cleared, a 51-year-old man lay helpless on the ground. Winston Trevor Bino was among a small group of men still in the garage of this house after watching a late-night NBA game. Moments later, a cry rang out that masked men were in the area. The large bullet hole lodged in the side of this house was one of many reportedly fired by the gunman. Eyewitnesses say the other bullets went through the door, which was open at the time.
And I hear somebody say, gunshots. I said, gunshots? But I ain't looking for no gunshots to be about this side. And then anyhow, we do some we being told. And then after, I hear someone say, Trevor get shoot. I said, Trevor get shoot? I said, oh, Trevor get shoot? So it had me shot. I didn't shock. I didn't know what to do.
That's one of Bino's longtime neighbors who considers the middle-aged painter as family. She's at a loss as to why he was on the receiving end of gunshots.
He don't get into no trouble, and he's a nice painter. That's all I can say about Trevor. And he always, look, he would do anything for anybody, but he could call Trevor, and he would go anywhere for you. You ever tell you, a very nice boy. So I have nothing bad to say about Trevor.
At the house where he lived with his parents, Winston and Yvonne Bino, many of his family members were mourning. Most of them declined an interview, saying they were too distraught to continue revisiting the incident. All except for a niece of the dead man.
I was worried, yes, because he was shot, but I didn't know the seriousness, so I wasn't panicking. But then when I heard, my house was all tears. Everybody was crying. Because my uncle had his ways, my uncle's had his ways, but he would do anything for anybody out here.
And as the community continues to recover from the ordeal, many believe it's a case of mistaken identity. Police investigations are continuing to get to the bottom of it. Kareem Smith, CBC News.
Thanks, Kareem. There was a hive of activity and celebration at the Supreme Comfort Retirement Home in Bagatelle this morning. That's because one of its residents became Barbados' newest centenarian. George Elcock marked his special day with a visit from Governor-General Dame Sandra Mason. She presented the father of 3, grandfather of 6, and great-grandfather of 10 with cards, a bottle of wine, and a fruit basket. Son Keith Best recounted some of the fond memories of his dad.
In his early life, he was a decorator, painter, and he was pretty good at that. He was very good at that, as a matter of fact, because he had the ability to take different paints and make different colors. And colors that might not, colors that, you know, that you wouldn't go into shop and see, you know. And I remember as a kid, he would make kites, and he would make all these different patterns, and I would have a kite with different patterns when we go to fly the kite.
Meanwhile, as caretaker since 2014, Nicole Atkins says he has a hearty appetite.
He does not have many dislikes at all, so he has given us an easy time taking care of him food-wise. That is for sure. He is as in good health as he could be, and again, I thank God for that.
After the break, we'll check in with some of our regional neighbors.
Across the Caribbean, brought to you by CIBC First Caribbean.
In Guyana, the head of the Financial Intelligence Unit has revealed that commercial banks monitor the lifestyles of clients and tip off the FIU with information that helps to identify money launderers and tax evaders. Here's Kristen McLaughlin.
Although there are no laws that authorize the audit of lifestyles of citizens in Guyana as yet, the financial banking institutions are constantly monitoring financial transactions by all customers. That's according to the head of the FIU, Matthew Langevin.
As a banker, one of the ways that you kind of monitor the existence of maybe money laundering or so on is you kind of monitor the lifestyles of persons, and so you can use that.
Mr. Langevin speaking exclusively with Nightly News on Monday about the advantages of having lifestyle audits. He stated that such a tool is very effective in combating money laundering and that commercial banks in Guyana are able to report incidents to the FIU by using such methods in their systems.
I know that the reporting entities use it, primarily the financial institutions, monitor lifestyles of their customers and their employees to kind of see if there's any unusual activity that may indicate, money laundering or any other activity. But I don't know if the Attorney General's Chambers is looking into developing any specific kind of legislation that's similar to that one.
However, Mr. Langevin added that if Guyana were to adopt in full the lifestyle audit legislation that Canada is presently using, or any other legislation in this regard, it may not be as effective as it should be.
Legislation is not something that works the same way all over the world, so I think it's all about establishing if that kind of legislation will be helpful to Guyana, and that's something that will be considered by the relevant authorities.
In Jamaica, small hotels are falling victims to scam artists posing as guests. Items such as televisions and expensive devices are being stolen. The authorities say the crimes are being committed by Jamaicans. More from TVJ.
So far, it would appear the unscrupulous activities are confined to hotel properties in Westmoreland and Hanover, located along Negril's 7-mile stretch. The owners and operators, some unwilling to speak on camera, recall the ordeal. At the West End Inn, supposed vacationers visited on different days, making off with several television sets and other valuables.
At 12:15 a.m. one Saturday morning, they arrived and said they had some flight delays, but they're here to check in. So the security did the process, escorted them to the cabin, and they really loved the room and stayed here for a little while. At 12:29, which is about 14 minutes after they had checked in, they said they were going to the airport to pick up some other relatives who were on a next delayed flight. So they left at 12:29 with our keys for both rooms, as they should be returning, say, within the next 3 hours. They did not come until the morning. No one showed. So our housekeepers, upon their checking of rooms, they went to that room, and immediately they found that our flat screen television was missing.
The thieves take advantage of the nighttime check-in system at the small properties. After the receptionist leaves, the security guard on duty takes over, checking in guests. The manager at another property, who asked us to keep his identity private, told us vacationers using a Florida number booked rooms online at his hotel using a fake credit card in April.
Police in Belize are trying to determine whether the mayor of Belmopan is being targeted after someone fired several shots at his home. We hear more in this Channel 5 report.
It was the first time that he had heard the sound of gunfire, let alone being the objective of an unknown attacker.
The past few hours have led me to come to believe that several shots ended up being fired in the direction of my home last night, sometime around 10:30 or shortly before that time. My fiancée and I were upstairs, falling asleep not too long previously, and we heard 4 loud bangs. At least that's what I could count, and those bangs jerked us out of our sleep pretty much instantaneously. I flicked the light on in the bedroom. It had sounded to me like the bangs were actually made against the sliding glass door that leads out to a balcony of the bedroom. And so I immediately headed in that direction. I flicked on the lights of the balcony and to make sure that nobody was actually on that upstairs veranda. And no one was there. So I told my fiancée to sit tight in bed.
While his wife-to-be remained inside the bedroom, Belial contacted several friends, including a fellow counselor who lives several blocks away, via a WhatsApp chat group. Incidentally, the salvo of gunshots was also heard from a distance. The mayor then summoned another of his friends to come over and take a look at what was going on.